If I pray and I don't get what I pray for, does it mean I prayed with a lack of faith? To tell you the truth, sometimes I thank God for not saying yes to some of the things I pray for, because it turns out that in retrospect, those things were not the best things for me after all. So what does it mean to pray in faith? What does it mean to have faith? What does it mean to walk in faith? To tell you the truth, I barely understand. But I am going to share what I do understand from the scriptures, and I hope it's helpful. I'm Brian Bateman, and this is Red Letter Blueprint, Jesus' 52 Rules for Joy. Then Jesus told them, I tell you the truth, if you have faith and don't doubt, you can do things like this and much more. You can even say to this mountain, may you be lifted up and thrown into the sea, and it will happen. You can pray for anything, and if you have faith, you will receive it. Matthew 21:21-22. Jesus emphasized faith a lot. He said, with God, all things are possible, Matthew 19:26. Also, he said, faith makes all things possible, Matthew 17:20. In the Bible, Jesus put a lot of emphasis on following his commands, and he made certain promises about following his commands, like he would reveal himself to us, and we would experience overflowing joy. Jesus said, when you obey my commandments, you remain in my love, just as I obey my Father's commandments and remain in his love. I have told you these things so that you will be filled with my joy. Yes, your joy will overflow. So I studied all of Jesus's words in the Bible, the red letters, thus the name of this series, and I pulled out everything that sounded like a command. I found 52. 13 are related to our relationship with God. 13 are related to our relationships with people. 13 are related to our values, and 13 are related to our actions. So I want to know Jesus better, and I want to experience this overflowing joy more and more. And you are invited on the journey. I've noticed that each time Jesus got angry with his disciples, it was for their lack of faith. This is just one example. When they came to the crowd, a man approached Jesus and knelt before him. Lord, have mercy on my son, he said. He has seizures and is suffering greatly. He often falls into the fire or into the water. I brought him to your disciples, but they could not heal him. You unbelieving and perverse generation, Jesus replied, how long shall I stay with you? How long shall I put up with you? Bring the boy here to me. Jesus rebuked the demon, and it came out of the boy, and he was healed at that moment. Then the disciples came to Jesus in private and asked, why couldn't we drive it out? He replied, because you have so little faith. Truly, I tell you, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you. Matthew 17:14-20. I used to think it was unfair for Jesus to blame the disciples for their lack of faith, since faith is a gift from God. Ephesians 2:8-9 says, for by grace you have been saved through faith, and this not of yourselves, it is the gift of God, not the result of works, so that no one can boast. So if faith is a gift from God, why would Jesus blame his disciples for lacking faith? Well, the conclusion I came to is that while God gives faith, what we do with it causes it to grow or atrophy, just like a muscle. The key is the parable of the talents. A talent was a measure of money worth about 20 years' wages, a huge measure of money. And in fact, that word talent as a currency is where we derive our modern word talent, meaning an ability that we can develop or lose based on how we use it. Here's the parable of the talents. For it will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted them to his property. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1, each according to his ability. And then he went away. He who had received the 5 talents went at once and traded them, and he made 5 talents more. So also he who had the 2 talents made 2 talents more. But he who had received the 1 talent went and dug in the ground and hid his master's money. Now after a long time the master of those servants came and settled accounts with them. And he who had received the 5 talents came forward, bringing 5 talents more, saying, Master, you delivered me 5 talents. Here, I have made 5 talents more. His master said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little. I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. And he also, who had the 2 talents, came forward, saying, Master, you delivered me 2 talents. Here, I have made 2 talents more. His master said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little. I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. He also, who had received the 1 talent, came forward, saying, Master, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you did not sow and gathering where you did not scatter seed. So I was afraid, and I went and hid your talent in the ground. Here, you have what is yours. But his master answered him, You wicked and slothful servant, you knew that I reap where I have not sown and gather where I have scattered no seed. Then you ought to have invested my money with the bankers, and at my coming should have received what was my own with interest. So take the talent from him and give it to the one who has the 10 talents. For to everyone who has, more will be given, and he will be given an abundance. But from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away. So let's apply that to our faith. Use it or lose it. Your faith is something to be put into action. Nobody's faith ever grew strong by playing it safe. Your comfort zone is a place for your faith to atrophy. The greatest chapter about faith in the Bible is Hebrews 11. I wish we had time to go over the whole chapter in great detail, but for now, I'm just going to highlight 3 passages from it. It starts in verse 1 by saying, Faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. The assurance of things not hoped for suggests that faith is not just a wish or something ethereal, but it's something solid, something we can hold on to. It's the foundation that we trust God for. The assurance of things not seen is the confidence in what's going to happen, even though we don't see it yet. We believe in a future that God has promised, even if we can't see it. We'll talk more about that in a minute. Hebrews 11:6 says, And it is impossible to please God without faith. Anyone who wants to come to him must believe that God exists and that he rewards those who sincerely seek him. So the Bible makes it clear that we are only saved by putting our faith in Jesus' sacrifice for us. But what does it mean to please God? Well, over and over again in the scriptures, we see that God is pleased by what we do for him in faith. If we don't do our works in faith, then they just end up being empty works and pointless endeavors. He loves it when we serve him in faith. And this is the theme of the book of James, that faith without works is dead. Some preachers claim that faith is the key to prosperity, that if we have enough faith, we'll be healthy and wealthy. But Hebrews 11:33 through 39 paints a very different picture of faith. After detailing a slew of great men and women of God and how they exercised their faith, The writer of Hebrews summarizes their lives this way. By faith, these people overthrew kingdoms, ruled with justice, and received what God promised them. They shut the mouths of lions, quenched the flames of fire, and escaped death by the edge of the sword. Their weakness was turned into strength. They became strong in battle and put whole armies to flight. Women received their loved ones back again from death. But others were tortured, refusing to turn from God in order to be set free. They placed their hope in a better life after the resurrection. Some were jeered at, and their backs were cut open with whips. Others were chained in prisons. Some died by stoning, some were sawed in half, and some were killed with the sword. Some went about wearing skins of sheep and goats, destitute and oppressed and mistreated. They were too good for this world, wandering over deserts and mountains, hiding in caves and holes in the ground. All these people earned a good reputation because of their faith, yet none of them received all that God had promised. So where in that passage do you see that faith makes you healthy and wealthy? Where in that passage is living in faith in your comfort zone? These great men and women of faith did not trust this world to provide them comfort. They put their hope in the next life, in the kingdom of God. Sometimes people think that if the path they're pursuing is difficult and full of obstacles, it must mean that they're not doing God's will. I mean, God's path is always smooth and easy, right? As we saw in Hebrews 11, nothing could be further from the truth. God's way is always difficult. Why is God's way always difficult? That's another topic for another video. But for now, trust me, doing God's will is never the easy path. The 19th century preacher George Mueller said, "If we desire our faith to be strengthened, we should not shrink from opportunities where our faith may be tried, and therefore through trial be strengthened." Don't shrink back from difficulties. Can I tell you a story about William Carey? William Carey was a great Christian, full of faith in England in the 1700s. He grew up in an average family, a sickly child in an obscure village. But when he grew up, he was certain that God was calling him to reach India with the gospel. And he knew by faith that that was God's call for him. However, England at the time had outlawed missionary work in India. They just felt it was bad politically. And Carey approached his church about it to support him and send him to India to preach the gospel, and they derided him harshly. One pastor said, "Young man, sit down. When God pleases to convert the heathen, he will do it without your aid or mine." Still, Carey had faith that God was calling him. He had faith that this call to reach people for Jesus in India was from God. So he raised the funds himself, and he went by himself. And as soon as the ship left England toward India, he took off his powdered wig and threw it into the ocean. I think that's today's equivalent of throwing your iPhone into the ocean. It's a statement of, I have a whole new life. Carey preached one of the greatest sermons of all time around the theme, expect great things from God, attempt great things for God. I love that. Once he was in India, William Carey accomplished the following. His ministry sparked a new era in missions. His work was a turning point, introducing missions to the English-speaking world on a large scale for the first time. That's why he is called the father of modern missions. He translated the complete Bible into 6 languages and portions into 29 others. Yet he never attended the equivalent of high school or college. He never took a furlough from missionary service and lived in India for 41 years. He founded Serampore College, the first Christian college in Asia. It continues today. William Carey is a perfect example of 1 Corinthians 5:7, which says, "For we walk in faith, not by sight." Some people wonder why God doesn't give us a roadmap to follow. But to tell you the truth, if we had a roadmap, we'd worship the roadmap. God wants us coming to Him every day for wisdom, for guidance, for direction. He wants us to put our faith in Him, not in some roadmap. We don't need to understand so that we'll believe. St. Augustine said this, "Understanding is the reward of faith. Therefore, seek not to understand that you may believe, but believe that you may understand." God knows where you are, and He's okay with it. God has a plan, so trust Him. The same God who led you to it will lead you through it. Don't worry about what you see. Don't even worry about what you feel. Have faith in God. Seek Him. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I would love to hear your response to these things, so please leave a message. And please share it if you got anything out of this episode. If you subscribe to this channel, you won't miss any episodes. And if you leave a review, it'll be seen by more people. Next week, we will look at Jesus' command, "Don't fear people, fear God." Thank you for joining me on this journey. I'll see you. Anyone who has my commands and obeys them loves me. My Father will love the one who loves me. I too will love Him, and I must show myself to Him. John chapter 14, verse 21.